Welcome back to the Fired Up podcast. My name is Ben Vickers, and in this podcast, we help and inspire you on how to improve your life and business and go and make it happen. And recently, I was talking at an event on the Gold Coast called the Forge event, which is a network for a group of young entrepreneurs. And I spoke there, I think it's about 80, 90 people there. And I spoke to them about basically turning your side hustle into success. And, I related to my growth story on that and how my side hustle enabled me to get out of the corporate world and get the freedom that I want and start pursuing things that matter most to me and that I'm passionate about. And today on the podcast, we have Lockie Helmrich, and he was one of the guys in the audience there. And the thing that I love about this is after that session, Lockie reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Hey man, liked the talk you did tonight. Very inspiring. I'd love to grab 10 minutes of your time and just ask a few questions." So I think, first of all, man, awesome for doing that. I did say that at the event. People need to reach out and ask for help, and people are more than willing to do it. So as soon as Lockie did, I was like, absolutely. We had a chat yesterday, and I said, mate, come on the podcast. Like, this is just going to be another avenue for you to get your business and message out there, and also share the story to people watching and listening to this about, we all go through the same challenges, obstacles. You can hit the roof on revenue. You can hit the challenges with people or how the market's changing, how to get new customers and stuff. So I said, mate, come on the podcast. People will love to hear the story, and let's talk around some of the things that you might be able to implement to improve stuff. So, Lockie, mate, welcome to the potty. Thanks for joining us.
No problems at all. No, pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here and pleasure to meet you at that Forge event and to have the opportunity to talk to you today. But yeah, no, it's really exciting, and I love talking about this points. Especially, I'm really passionate about pushing through and sharing my story to any other young entrepreneurs or people who are aspiring to show that if you put your mind down to something, you can create something. So no, I'm very excited about being here.
100%. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of businesses and a lot of people over the years. The number one difference between success and failure comes down to the attitude and the mindset. It's not where your family's from. It's not how you were raised. It's not how much money you've got. It's not how educated you are. It all comes down to the complete determination to do it. And when we spoke yesterday and you shared some of your story, like, I was blown away. Like, you've just turned 20 or 21?
20. I just turned 20 last month. Yep.
Far out. You're making me feel so old. But Lockie actually started his first business at 15. So, mate, tell us about that. What happened at 15? And then where are we today? Let's start there.
Yeah, so 15. So essentially I now run a media and marketing agency. I love cameras, I love videography, I love photography, I love editing. I love the idea of having an idea and then bringing it to life through the screen. I always have. Even from before 15, I had that passion and that deep in my heart. When I was 15, I was friends with a guy who just graduated high school. We both loved videography and photography. He had some experience working on Channel 9 actually, and he had a bit of hands-on experience. Knew how to sell. He was, to this day, the best salesman I've ever met in my life. He could talk himself into and out of any room he could possibly he could get himself into. And essentially, we sat down and said, "Hey, we should start something." And we launched a media company similar to what I run now, and we ran that for 2 years, primarily focusing on business advertisement, creating short form content and advertising content to put out across websites, Instagram and Facebook. And we experienced some rapid growth. And as a 15-year-old, I was in grade 10 or 11 going, hold on, I'm sitting in high school right now and we just pulled in an $8,000 job. Like, what's going on? Like, this is not working. And that was my eye opener going, wow, what's happening here? Push turns to shove, coming towards the end of grade 11 and start of grade 12. Things didn't pan out the way we expected to. I ended up focusing more on my studies going into grade 12, and I ended up walking away from there, which was actually a blessing in disguise more than ever. But I graduated grade 12. I got into uni, but mid grade 12, I was at a gym. And at this stage, I had no gear to my name. I had negative money to my name. I was nothing. And I walked out this gym, and the gym owner was standing at the front. And I'd been following him on Instagram. And I walked up to him and said, "Hey, mate, you need to do better with your social media. I can help you." And he said, "Well, come in for a meeting. Let's talk about it." And mid grade 12, I had no camera, and he's like, yeah, so I'd love someone to do, 2 videos a week for me. I said, absolutely, man, I can do that for you. This is some of the past work, showing it from the previous company. Like, this is what I can do for you. And he goes, okay, cool. What price? And I didn't know what to say. I don't know. I'm like, oh, well, how about, $100 a week? I'll do you 2 videos, and I'll invoice you every month. And he was like, done, sounds good. And I left that meeting going, crap, I don't have a camera, I don't have a laptop. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was working at Bunnings at the time. I saved up a little bit of money, bought a dodgy old camera, and all of a sudden, Outcast Media, what I run now, started to slowly form. I finished grade 12. I got into uni. I said, nah, you know what? I don't have to do that. I think I can just dive straight into this. I already had a Cert 3 and a diploma under my belt. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. And I jumped into it. 3 years later, just turned 20. We're a team now. I got myself and 3 employees, office here in Cleveland. Just kind of launched a second side hustle business as a hireable studio, averaging around that 10 to 15K consistently per month mark. I've just lost you for audio, Ben.
It'll be my fault.
There you go.
I was just saying, look, congratulations. If you looked at the stats across Australia and said, look, how many 20-year-olds run a business? How many 20-year-olds are doing 15K in rev a month? How many 20-year-olds have got an office and a team? The numbers are low. So you're already in that 1%, probably 5% club. So, mate, congratulations to get where you are now at such a young age, because just doing what you're doing, the experience, the learning, the connections and everything else, that is just going to compound over the years. And what you're running now, if we fast forward 10, 20 years, who knows what it'll be. But with that kind of desire and determination, it can be whatever you want. Mate, just quickly, Outcast Media, how'd you come up with the name?
I always felt I actually got a lot of criticism from the name to begin with. No one's going to work with that. And I'm kind of firm on it now that the reason I chose Outcast was actually I felt like I was always different. And the tagline for the company is be different, stand out. And for the longest time, I thought, I wanted to be different and stand out. The reality is I want to push for other people to be different and stand out more than myself now. But I always thought I was a point of difference, and I always thought I could create a point of difference. And I know theoretically outcast means, separated from the pack, and not necessarily meaning a good thing, but I do think it is a good thing, because being different is actually good. And if we're all the same, then that's bad. So I always wanted to, push that, and I bring that to the business within videography and marketing and photography of, how can we separate you between your competitors?
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. Let's talk about the business model. Like, what do you guys actually do? Who's your ideal customer? What problem are you solving?
Yeah. So our business operates under a retainer model. So it's mainly based around taking away the pain of social media or marketing within any business. We will come, and you hate that, we're going to solve that problem for you, and we're going to create consistent high-level content for your social media pages. Or we can dive into a full approach and take over all of your marketing, and we'll do it all through a one-stop shop. It works under that retainer model. So it's, we'll do X amount of work each month. You pay us at the end of the month, purely built around consistency, because paying a company $1,000 to do one-off video and then saying goodbye actually is not going to do you good for the long run, depending on the situation you're in. So it's all about if we can consistently put in a long-term plan and slowly work towards that through high-quality content, and let us take away that pain for you, then that's a win. So that's the business model that probably now brings in about 90 to 95% of our revenue.
Yeah. And who's your ideal customer? I mean, are you going after the big corporates, or are you after startup business? Are you after small to medium, where, I think I know the answer to this, but just good to hear it from your point of view.
Because of my age, I'm unconnected. And that's my biggest issue that I found in being in business is I don't have the contacts. I don't have that phone list going, who can I call who's worth a good amount of money, who runs business? I just don't have it. I've had to grow my network from scratch. And the way I've been able to do that is walking into small businesses and going, hey, my name's Lockie. This is what I do. And so it essentially started at small businesses, and now we're kind of feeding into these medium-sized businesses that are turning over a little bit more money.
Yeah.
and have more budget to spend. But I've worked with one big business, and it was as a government related in a government related industry. They were very big, and it was the best job I've ever done because they saw the value in it. But right now, we're currently targeting small to medium sized businesses. In the future, definitely hoping to push into the bigger range. But for right now, we're gonna stay where our feet are comfortable in that small to medium sized range.
So in terms of, you said something interesting there about because of your age, the network.
Mm.
And to be honest, I kind of really disagree with that because I think
Okay.
a 17-year-old can have a great network. It's really based on, well, how are they building that and what's their activity to build it? So I would ask the question on, like, in terms of, you said, you're walking into small businesses or contacting small businesses. What's your outreach activity per month or per week in terms of going, I'm going to contact 10 people on LinkedIn. I'm going to contact 10 new businesses. What's the activity that you're doing to build the network?
To begin with, I was doing a lot, and now as I develop more into business, my network has grown purely because of that. Hence me sitting in front of you today. But I do have a thicker network now of some people, that are more well connected and more established and run bigger businesses. But to begin with, I was doing a lot of cold outreach, a lot of emails, a lot of cold phone calls, and a lot of messaging on Instagram. Now, so I don't do it as much. I feel, and it's not saying I won't do it for the future. I reached out to you recently, but definitely in the future, like I will, if I find the person's right and I really, get value out of a certain person and I feel like I would, then I'll reach out to them. But in terms of cold outreach now, and it's probably a weak point, I probably should work on that a little bit more, but I'm not doing too much cold outreach.
Yeah. And that's great. Look, this conversation's about being authentic. Like, none of us are doing everything right and can learn something along the way. I think, like, you've only just joined that Fired Up group, right, on Facebook. So you just added 200 to your network. So the people are there, but they're not going to do anything if you don't do anything. And this is where most people come unstuck because they're like, well, what do I say? What do I do on the video? I don't know how to. Just who cares? And if you go out and put a video up on that Facebook group this week or next week and say, hi guys, I'm Lockie, just been on a podcast with Ben. Here's a little bit about my business and what I do. If you think that you'd like to have a call with me, DM me, let me know. Or if you think someone would be interested in my services, let me know and I'll contact them for you. You watch what happens. But that's the gap where people do and don't do. And the other gap is asking for help. And there's a great range of people on there that if you said something like, whatever, I'm stuck, I'm looking for a new office in Brisbane, anybody got any contacts? You watch what happens. Call this guy, this lease is available, that one's come up. I find the network, and Stephen Bartlett talks about this. He's the guy who runs the Diary of the CEO podcast. He talks about 5 buckets that you need to focus on, and it's skills, knowledge, resources, network, and reputation. And he talks about one person that we all know that has got all 5 of those buckets completely filled up, which is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
If Elon goes, hey guys, I'm going to release a flamethrower next week he sells out tomorrow. People don't even look at it. He's got all the resources under his belt. He's got the network. He's got the reputation. So look, skills and knowledge is where I'd be kind of pushing people early stage business. Like, you need to get your skills and knowledge to do what you do well. So keep focusing on that, learning on that, building on that, reaching out to people in the network to get the skills and knowledge that you need to do better. Resources, that's who you can use and what you can use. And it's also money. You can't go out and do a $50,000 ad campaign next week. Why not? Don't have the cash. If I did have a bucket full of cash, I'd probably do that. And, the network it's my go-to for anything. I very rarely go to Google to get something. I go to people that I know and go, who should I talk to? Who should I use? Who would you recommend? And that is just the path of least resistance. It's a better experience. And it just makes the whole process so much easier. There's a little bit of insights there. I want to get into kind of what created the conversation between us is like, where are you at now in terms of the business, and where do you think you're stuck? Where do you think you need help?
Right now, the business we've been standstill at about 10 to 15K. with a few odd 25 grand months here for about 6, 7, 8 months now. I've
Yeah.
got the capacity within my team to handle a whole lot more work. We're well resourced and we're well equipped, but we're pushing, and that ideal client is not coming. Just through advertising and networking and events, we're just not reaching it. We're stuck at that 10 to 15K mark. And my biggest number one thing that I was thinking about by reaching out to you was going, what do you recommend? I want to attract an ideal customer. We kind of just got our feet in the ground. We're still in that startup stage. Where and how is the best avenues to continue to push to grow that revenue?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, because I think you clearly need to identify who is our customer avatar, who's our customer persona. Like if I could wave a wand and you're like, man, for me, it's a small business that's in professional services, that's doing $1 million a year with a small team, who sucks at social media, no presence, no strategy. That's who I want. Because then you can go, right, so what's our message to them? Where are they based? What's their geography? What's their income? What do their kids do? And you can actually start to put that buyer persona in place, so you can go directly towards marketing and doing the outreach that we spoke about. 10 of those businesses a week. Phone call. Hi, how are you? Click. No. Hi, how are you? No. But every time you're doing that phone call, you just told 10 more people about Outcast. Every time you send 10 LinkedIn connections, no, not interested, not interested, not interested. You just told 10 more people about Outcast. I push it through my clients on the coaching program, recency and frequency. So you've got someone who sells an amazing paint. It's the best paint in the world. It's the most immaculate paint in the world. And someone who sells a pretty average product. The person who is nailing it on the recency and frequency will sell more paint, because it's like, when did I last see this? What's coming to mind? How often are you getting in front of these people? And I mean, the social media space is obviously where it's at. It is very, it's a chaotic space because there's just so much noise there. But the beauty of it is like, you can actually put it right in front of the right people that you want at the right time, if you know who you're targeting. Otherwise, you're just throwing darts, hoping to hit something. But if you can actually find that perfect persona, then you can start to really narrow in your spend and targeting on that. So I'd say start there. The fact that you've got all of this capacity, so what are we doing now? 15K a month. So how much revenue could you increase that to without increasing any of your team, any of the hours, any of the office space, any of the equipment?
Off the top of the dome, off my calculations, just because of the time right now that we have accessible, I'd say at least doubling it, 30 to 40.
Okay, cool. So I think, and that's great. Now you've got the number. First thing we need to think about on that 2025 business plan, 30K, right? Because that's 360 grand revenue next year. So now that's what I want to do next year. That's doubling the business. So now it becomes how. And the how is where we're a bit unstuck, right? Because it's like, do I just do more ads? Do I lower my prices? Do I offer a free this? That's where we're a bit unsure of what to do. I think we don't have enough time on this podcast to go through it. But number one, business plan. And if you can identify exactly who that perfect customer is, you can identify exactly the problem that they have, then you can start to market and target about solving that problem. And then you just do it with recency and frequency. Mailing lists and all that sort of stuff, like email. I'm sure we all sit down first thing in the morning or whatever. You get your phone out, you open up your email and spend the first 5 minutes going delete, 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 delete. Because we have to put our email address in for frickin' anything, and then it gets sold to everybody else, and now we just get spammed the shit out of. So it's email is, in my opinion, I spoke about this at the talk as well, like the thank you economy. Like customer service is about empathy and understanding. If you're going to blast me with emails going, hey, we've got a special this month, delete. But if I get a phone call, hey, Ben, Lockie here, Outcast Media, I want 1 minute of your time to tell you 3 reasons why we can help you with your social media without you having to worry about it at all. Is now a good time? No, it's not. When would be? Never. Thanks for your time. Click. But if you do that 10, 20 times, you are going to see the conversion rate go up. You can't help me, but hey, my buddy down the road, he might actually need some help. I've been telling him to get it fixed. You jump on that Fired Up group and go, I'm going to give 10 free phone calls to people in this group for 20 minutes on how we can solve that social media problem for you if you've got one. First 10, 9 spots left, 8 spots left, 6 spots, 5, done. And you'll get business. But I think that's what the activity needs to be. I really push through my clients. Yes, you do need to know the big number, 360K next year. We're going to double the business next year, and that's going to be an average 30K per month. Cool. In order to get the 30K, what do I need to do? Identify the customer persona and spend at least 5%, preferably 10% in your stage of your revenue back into marketing.
Is that the general stat towards that?
Well, no, because I think it depends what the business is. I mean, Tesla's marketing spend is 0.
Yeah, I've seen that,
Yeah, Coca-Cola's marketing spend is fucking whatever.
Billions,
I
yeah.
think it's based on the strategy. And I would look at, do we have a lead acquisition problem? Yeah, we do. Okay, well, then we need to spend on that. Because then you can go, let's just look at next year, for example, 30 grand a month. So in January, you're going to spend 3 grand on marketing. You spend 3 grand on marketing, then that's going to generate leads. So now you've got a number of leads. Now I've got 300 leads. Cool. Out of those leads, how many of those turned into a phone conversation? 150. So you've lost 50% conversion from lead to sales call. From the sales call of the 150, how many did we sign up?
Okay.
30. Okay, cool. So now we know that if we get X amount of leads, we lose 50 in the sales call and we convert 30 from that. So now you've got a conversion rate. So then everything just becomes zeros. So if we spend 30 grand on marketing, do you know what I mean? Then we're going to get
X amount of leads. Yeah.
We're going to get 1,500 calls and we're going to have 100 new customers. But can you handle 1,500 calls? No, you can't. You're going to have to build up into the resources or get some outbound support for people to do that. You could systemize it with really good sales videos or sales leads videos. So when someone goes, yep, I'm interested, they get a video from Lockie going, great, cool. Let me explain what we do. We have 2 packages. We do this, we do that, blah, 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 blah. Click which one you like. I like this one. Book it in. So then you become a closer and not a seller and a qualifier. So all of that needs to be unpacked and worked out. But I think you do need a very clear business plan for next year, which is focused around what is the problem that you're solving. I mean, you are solving a problem. Everyone has this problem, right? Well, not everyone. Certain people do. It's not an everyone thing. So I would be trying to identify that buyer persona. Like, do you want customers in Argentina? Probably not. Do you want to focus on customers in Queensland? Do you want to actually focus on customers on the Gold Coast and Brisbane because you actually want to go and build relationships, have an outstanding relationship, build that network, add incredible value, and then they're now spruiking your business for you. So do you see what I'm doing there? We can't help everyone in Australia. We're Gold Coast. That's what we do. And we're these types of businesses. We're accounting businesses. We are legal firms. We are these. This is what we are. And then you can actually target marketing to that. You put the first bunch of money into it and you test the results on the conversion thereafter.
So identify the problem, find out ideal solution, ideal buyer / customer, and then ideal way to market. How can we find this person in the market? So you're saying a combination, a bit of A/B testing online, figure out what works, what doesn't, 5 to 10% of revenue back into marketing, and then filter through leads, convert, and then find the best way to convert, and then just upscale.
Yeah. Yep. Get the number. I mean, the beauty of the social media space is print ads and TV ads were just hoping that someone watched it or saw it. That was their buyer persona. With the social, we can actually target 45-year-old males living on the Gold Coast who have an interest in ABC.
Yeah.
And that's why people are like, is my phone listening to me? Because I was just talking to my friend last night about a holiday in Thailand, and now I've got a Thailand holiday deal that's just come up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no shit, it is. And that advertising doesn't become so problematic because it's actually relevant.
Mm.
So then you want that experience to be really easy for the customer. Do you want to talk to us? Yes. Book, bang, done. Don't make it complicated and hard so they hit the button and they're going out to the website. They've got to fill out all this information and they've got to read this. It's too hard. They'll opt out. So you're going out there saying, we're going to make it easy for you. Then the whole experience from seeing your business to interacting with your business should be easy.
Yep.
It should blow my mind, and that's going to be the difference. But you're going to need some runs under the board. And we spoke about this yesterday as well. You've got clients are loving you. You're producing some amazing results, doing some freaking awesome things. We need them to tell the rest of the world about it. What's worked for me? I simply go to those clients who are loving us and they're like, Ben, that's amazing. I'm like, cool. Look, what are the chances I can get a 1-minute video testimonial off you? I use those words. What are the chances? Use it with everything. What are the chances I can grab a 5-minute phone call? What are the chances you can give me 3 names of people that I should talk to?
Okay.
Because then you're not saying, can I have? You're saying, what are the chances? And they're like,
open. Yeah, can't say no to that.
Yeah. They're like, man, look, I won't do you a video, but I'll flick you across just a quick email and feel free to use it. Great.
Done.
But then just if you're asking 10 people this every week, you're going to get 3, 4, 5 a week. Over the course of a year, bang. I want to talk just about one of my other clients because if I go back 6 months, different business, similar ceilings, like what are we going to do? How are we going to get new customers? Our social media sucks. We see ourselves as a high-end business, but the perception of us online is not. Long story short, I said, right, cool. What's the revenue targets? We don't know. What's your profit? We don't know. Where are your new customers coming from? Well, we don't know. So how are you getting new business? Oh, the cars are branded up and we've got a mobile phone number on it. So whose phone number is that? That's the director of the business. So I turned to him and said, how often is your phone blowing up? And he's like, oh, all day. All day I've got people calling me going, how much to paint a fence? How much to do this? How much to do that? And I said, there's your first problem. You should not be taking phone calls in the business. So we, kind of put the whole strategy in place. They've now got a 1-300 number. The 1-300 number goes through to an answering service, not in their business, but gets picked up within 3 calls every day, says their company name, and then the lead goes through based on the quality of it for someone in the sales team to close the deal. So now his phone doesn't ring and he's like, oh my God, it's got my life back. Great.
Yeah.
Go spend your time working on the business and what you should be doing. We come back to the numbers, we measure the numbers. And I won't say who they are for confidentiality, but I've got some of their results up on the screen here. In January this year, they did $64,000 in revenue. That's not a bad, that's good revenue, right? You say that to anybody, they're going to go, hey, shit, that's great. Once we actually drill down into some of these details, and look, the financials is not a lot of people's skill set, but once you start measuring and tracking and say, this is what you need to be looking at, they now run this themselves. But back then they didn't know because they didn't know what to do, let alone how to do it. But now they know what, and I've shown them how, so they can run this by themselves. Here's the scary figure. So 64K in revenue, fantastic. 81% of that revenue is being spent on wages.
Wow.
So I'm like, you got a problem.
That's pretty high, yeah.
It's pretty high. So 2 things are wrong here. Are you paying the staff too much? And they're like, no, like these are industry rates. Cool, then your revenue's wrong. Are you pricing too low? Something's amiss here because if you just, let's run this forward, you're not making any money. So we put things in place. We got the website fixed. We got the sales process organized. We got implemented systems to handle customer communication and interaction. We got the 1-300 number. We've quadrupled their social presence in the last 4 months. Wow. Instead of doing before and after photos of before it was painted, after it's painted. we're now doing recency and frequency of 3 content buckets, which is inspire, educate, or entertain. I said, they're your 3 videos. Are we inspiring people? Look at what we did from this to this. Are we educating? When you do a roof paint, you must not do this. Or are you entertaining? And we did a video, a couple of the young kids that got twins, wrote them a customized theme song using AI like a jingle, and their kids are just splashing paint all over this house and wall, and the thing just went freaking nuts. They're not trying to ask for business or customers or whatever, but everyone was commenting, liking, sharing, going, how cool is this? And now you're starting to get the recency and frequency. So when one of those viewers goes, hey, don't we need to get that place painted? What was that company? Oh, that's right.
Think of
then
that.
They go and make the inquiry. So 64K revenue in January, 81% of that being spent on wages, no profit at all. Last month, October, how much revenue do you think they done?
I reckon if you came in and helped to fix it, I reckon they drew down, but they also increased their profit margin.
Well, I like to go for both. So last month, and this has been going up month on month, but last month, 142,000 in revenue.
That's a double.
So we've more than doubled the monthly intake. We're measuring the amount of quotes that they do, the amount of quotes that are approved. But the best number that I can come down to here is that 45% of their revenue is being spent on wages.
There you go. That's cut in half. So you doubled and cut in half.
Yeah. So, I mean, that business is on track to do, 1.3, 1.5 million this year. This is the message I try to get to everyone. And cut through the shit with other people. Someone's like, oh, I got $1 million business. That's revenue. No one cares. If your costs are 900,000, your business sucks. Go and get a job. But if you're doing 1.3 million in revenue and half of that's going to the cost to do the job, that's a freaking great business.
Yeah.
So that's what matters. And we've not done anything special or unique. This is a very generic business. But what we have done is like, who is the customer? How do we get in front of them? How are we going to do it? What are we going to allocate to spend to do it? And then you just have to come back behind the curtains of the business and go, how do we make this as efficient and as effective as possible? Because you go to their website, I don't care if it's Sunday night, 11 o'clock. If I'm looking for people to do business with and I find the person, I want to click a button and I want contact. I want to click a button and I want something to happen. I don't want, you've reached just outside of business hours. Well, give us a call on Monday. Nah, I'm gone. Or I fill out the form. How many times have you done this? How many times have you gone online, filled out the form? No response.
Nothing. Yeah, you hear nothing. Yeah.
Then you go back to them a week, go, hey, I was on your website. I'm looking for a $100,000 landscaping job and you guys haven't gone back to me. Oh, yeah, sorry, busy at the moment, blah, blah, blah. I'll come see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Okay, cool. 10 o'clock, do you think they're here?
I don't know. Yeah.
So it's not hard, mate. It's not hard because it's just customer service and experience. And when you're in an early stage, you need to be putting your word out there as much as possible. Why? Because no one knows about you.
Yep.
So go hard on that. And it's not, we've got great packages at $300 a month. Everyone's doing that. You want to say, if you're an accounting firm and you suck at social media, you are missing out on 30 grand worth of fees a month. We can plug that problem for you from as little as $500 a month. We'll take all the work off you. Get in touch now. See below what we did for John last month. Hi, I'm John. I've worked with Outcast Media. They are freaking fantastic. Our social increased, our click-through rate's better, and we're getting more jobs than we can handle. If you want what John got, flick here. I'll give you a 20-minute free call and tell you what we can do for you.
Done. That's my next script.
Nah. Nah. You don't want scripts because it takes again, we get the phone calls, right? Hello, Ben. How are you today? Good. Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm calling you because I want to talk to you. I'm like, nah. I would rather go, just be you. Hey, it's Lockie here. This is what we can do. You want to be genuine and authentic because people see it and they feel it and they go, well, what Lockie's offering is not unique to what Billy's offering, but I want to work with Lockie because I like him more.
Yeah, it's a point of difference.
Point of difference. People want to work with people that are likable and they relate to. And that's big because then it just becomes trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I think and I'm happy to help out with you, man, because I like what you're doing and I love your ambition. I'll send you the free business plan template that you can start to nut through for next year. I think you need some SMART goals as well. The SMART acronym being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, to go, cool, it's not all just about outreach and sales and customers, but what are you going to do in the background internally? The fact that you're renting out a studio, why not? That's another smart place. So what else can you do with that space?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things that you can offer through that or add on to what you're already doing. That's just going to chuck another little revenue stream in that can be built on. So I'll send you a template for that as well. You can start working through it. The financial stuff is important because, we just got it through in this conversation, right? Just based on capacity, you think you can get to 30K per month. Cool. So that's what we need to aim for. So I'd put a stretch on that because we like round numbers. So if your goal next year is 30K a month, that's 360 for the year. You should roll that up to doing 400K next year.
400K.
And now I'll send you something for this as well, so you can actually start to put all your numbers in. But now you can go, right, January 30K, we only did 22. We spent 3K on marketing. How many leads did we get? How many calls did that turn into? How many customers did it turn into?
Yep.
Right. Then you pivot, then you adjust. Right. February, we're doing this. And you just start to improve, man, in baby steps, and the consistency beats intensity all the time. Yep. And, just to go back to that other business, the 60K problem in January and 85% spent on wages, that problem wasn't solved in February. It wasn't solved in March. It was getting better. Now, October, 9 months later, the problem's solved.
Yeah, big time.
Guess what? I mean, I had my meeting with them this week. I think it was on Tuesday. Guess what their new problem is?
They got too much work.
You got it.
Yeah,
too much work.
Yeah. Do we scale? Do we more? Do we employ more? Do we increase our overhead to increase that revenue to increase the profit? Yeah.
And that's the roller coaster of business and life. Like in January, it was like, shit, we need more work. Like this is not good, blah, blah, blah. Now we've got too much work. I call it the champagne problem. And this is exactly where we want it to be. It's exactly where they want it to be. The numbers are all where we want them to be. But now it's like, the hours are increasing, the stress is increasing, and now you're going to actually have to spend some more money. You're going to have to dip back into that revenue to go, right, more staff? Do we need another truck? Do we need to... Yeah. So everyone says, I want to 10X the business. You're not just 10Xing revenue, you're 10Xing all of your problems.
Yeah.
All
overhead, everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as I said to them and they agree, we're very happy with where it's at. This is a champagne problem and we're now just in 2025 planning. So how are we going to continue this trajectory of the business growth, the numbers, the revenue and everything else, but also I don't want them to die in the process. Like that's not the point of running a business. They're married, a couple of young kids. We need to get the position where the business runs itself so that they can actually enjoy the benefits of the hard work. Yep. At some point, you're 20. Don't even think about that.
No, I'm not. Don't worry. I'm ready to hustle.
Yeah, cool. Mate, what else? If there was anything that we could do to help you, what would it be?
Oh, it's a good question. I'm intrigued in you as a person. Just after hearing your story at the Forge, and more importantly, from the generation. I'm not calling you old, but I'm just saying your generation. Like we talk about the Matrix, right? and the system that we get put in and filter through. But the way you broke out of it, I want to know at the stage you're at within your business, businesses, I should say, where are you moving to? How are you pivoting forward? Just as a long term, it's just really interesting to be able to speak to someone who's at that stage of life and business and career to go, where do you actually go here? You've grown successful businesses. How do we continue to pivot? Like, what's the move?
Yeah, great question. Awesome. Thank you. I am old. I'm 43. I'm 43.
It's not
so
old. No.
I know it's not old. I feel like I'm 23, right? But the reality is, the average life expectancy for an Australian male is about 81 years old. So I'm past the halfway mark. I know that if I do make it to 81, then from 70 to 81, that's not going to be too much fun. I'm not going to be traveling the world. I'm not going to be all energy like I am now. So I've got a very small window left in terms of going after what is important to me. Now, I've got 2 young kids, 10 years old and 5 years old. My 10-year-old, it's already started actually. From now on, we will spend less and less time together, right? Because now he starts hanging out with his friends every weekend. He's out every night. Then at 17, 18, he leaves home. So, and then my 5-year-old daughter, the same thing happens. So I looked at a couple of these interesting graphs about where your time is spent. And time with kids, 0 to 12, they're here every night. We hang out every night. They're with us every weekend. They can't go anywhere without us. They can't eat without us. Fully dependent. But then it starts to drift away. So that's what made me get into business and everything else. First of all, I don't want to work for anybody. I want control of my own destiny. I want to do what I want, but also time.
Yeah.
So time is the most important thing. So if I'm not able to drop them off to school every morning, if I'm not able to spend time with them at nighttime, what's the point? So time is very important to me. And running businesses, some days it's full on, there's no time, and then other times it is. But at least I got no one telling me that I've only got 5 sick days and 4 weeks holiday this year. Got a bit more control over it than that. And some people are built that way and like it. I'm doing things that I absolutely love. My long-term play is just to have as much time as possible, which comes with obviously a financial aspect as well, right? So, I mean, I started investing pretty young. Well, that's not true. I bought my first house at 21, but I didn't buy my first stock until I was 32.
Okay.
But then after I saw the benefits of that, I was like, I'm not going to be able to save enough money to retire. My superannuation is not going to help me retire. I'm not actually going to be able to get anywhere ahead without A, running my own business, and B, investing my money into things that make money. And I think everybody needs to think about that, because you're only trading time and currency. So you're either buying back time or you're buying money by investing it in smart things that are going to grow over the long term. Yeah. So the long-winded answer is that my full kind of financial freedom play is based on my investments and my assets.
Yep.
And having a business is an asset. So I will sell those businesses or exit those businesses when the time comes. I will sell investments and assets when the time comes. But I'm not going to be someone who's going to sip pina coladas in Fiji from 50. If I had 100 million in the bank, I wouldn't be doing that because I love the process of business. I love doing new ventures and new things. I think if I did have 100 million in the bank, I'd probably be like a venture capitalist. I'd be running like a miniature Shark Tank with guys like you. Guys like you going, hey man, here's my idea. This, and I'll cool. Lockie, I'll give you 50 grand for 5%. Let's do it. That I would love that. That would be so cool, because I think the next generation, you guys, it's a much different market with AI and tech. Jobs are going to get dissolved in every industry very quickly. This is the opportunity for people to go and set themselves up by doing their own thing and doing it niche and doing it local and doing it amazing and set yourself up for the future.
No, awesome. I got one more question.
Yeah.
Property investment. investment properties breaking into a rather difficult market. This has been on my mind. I'm really interested in, especially for long term. One of my other business advisors bought his first property when he was 19. He's now 32. He's got 9 properties. I'm really interested within, is it worthwhile buying and investing in property, or would you go over stocks? And best way to find a positively geared property? Big question, I know.
I'm just amazed at the intelligence of the questions for a 20-year-old. It's a fantastic question. So I think everyone's got a different strategy, right? But the overarching thing that I'm not a financial advisor, so everyone do you. This is what I do. The thing that people should be thinking about is diversification for starters, because if you just have stocks and the stock market crashes, then you're fucked. It might not be forever, but if you're a trader or a short-term investor, then that's going to be problematic. If you only have houses and this housing bubble does collapse, then that person's going to be in trouble, because now they owe more on the house than it's worth, and the banks are going to come calling for it. So diversification, real estate, stocks, and businesses. Businesses are assets. Businesses generate income. The business can generate $15,000 a month this year and then $30,000 a month next year. The guy who owns the house getting $1,000 a week rent this year, is he going to get $2,000 a week rent next year? So I like things that have a bit more ability of control for growth. I will say this, you need to live somewhere, and I don't want to live in someone else's house where they're coming to do inspections and tell me I can't put shit on the wall or have a dog. So you should have your own house, and you should make that place exactly what you want to be for the long term. And yeah, it's your house, it's your castle, it's where your kids grow up, it's where the memories are had, it's where you spend a lot of time. So get your house sorted. Then generally people go to investment properties is for tax, because they're trying to reduce tax, and yes, for capital growth and wealth. But Australia's seen capital real estate growth, excessive real estate growth. Brisbane's gone up fucking 50% in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's
crazy.
It's unsustainable. So I think property's good, and it's a good long-term hold. That house I bought at 21, I paid $158,000 for it. Do I wish I still had it today? Of course.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm selling it because I need the cash, because I want to do this. So, but in terms of like my other investments, into Bitcoin, into the S&P 500, into things like that, I don't buy those to sell those.
Yeah,
I hold. That's a hold. That's a forever hold, because those things just cannot go down. Do they go up and down like a heart rate monitor? Yes, they do. But when you zoom out, Bitcoin's the best performing asset globally since it came out in 2009. Nothing's beaten it. Nothing will beat it over the next 15 years, my opinion. So if my business was in your position and I was doing 30K revenue a month, I'd be finding how I can take 1,000 of that and putting it into an investment.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, to date, for the last 6 months, every month I've been putting $250 and buying silver and just stacking and just holding it. Now, whether that, compounds over time, and that they say that silver will do double what happens to gold, just it fluctuates a little bit more. I also see that as savings, and more stable savings that can't be too heavily affected by what's happening with the economy around us. So I want to get your 2 cents on that too. What do you think of buying and holding, stacking silver and gold?
So I don't. But what am I looking for in a stock? So I'm looking for kind of like what's safe, and also what has the biggest return. S&P 500, it's the top 500 companies in the US, right? It always has been. So when companies fail in the US next month, they drop out and the next two come in. And it just keeps evolving like that, which is why it's performed at an average of like 10 to 12% per year, every year over the last 100-something years. Finished off, but the question around silver or what stocks do I look at? I look at stocks that are safe and consistent over the long term. So the S&P 500 or top ETFs and that type of thing, ETF exchange traded fund. That's what I look for, because it's basically just a group of businesses or stocks coupled together, and you're buying that. And you know, if it's the top 500 companies and two of those companies go broke next month, they fall off the bottom and the next two companies come up. So it's always the top 500 and it's always going to have a good return. Over the last 100 years, 10 to 12% on average. Some years it's 27%, some years it's 7%. But on average, if you are just putting money into that fund, I've done a podcast on this, but I can't remember the figure. $250 a week into the S&P 500 from 21 years old. By the time you get to 60, you've got over 4 mil. So wow. I don't know what your superannuation fund is looking like, but after my corporate career in big high-paying jobs with big high-paying companies, it wasn't fucking anywhere near $1 million. So I took it all out and I went self-managed. I took it all out and said, I'm not going to trust these systems and these businesses to manage that. I'm going to do it myself. Best decision I ever made. I personally think the whole financial system globally is up for massive disruption. The dollar everyone's dollar is just dying. You know, our costs have gone up 25% for everybody in the last 4 years. That's our inflation over the last 4 years. So if you've got $100 in your savings bank account, fast forward 5 or 10 years, that $100 is now worth 20. So why? You look at my savings account, I've got 75 cents in there. I'm not going to let my money just sit there and die. I'm going to put it into things where it's going to protect the value or grow the value. And the bit that for me, this is not financial advice. For me, the number one thing that I like for that is Bitcoin. Everyone's got access to everyone's got access to it. There's an African guy on a camel today who can get his phone out and he can go buy a hut off a mate with Bitcoin. He doesn't have a bank account, he's got no cash, and the cash is dead anyway. I can move Bitcoin from my address to someone in New York in 10 seconds. The price is the same. No bank sits there and holds it. No bank puts fees on it. No government owns it. No one can stop it. And the other thing is, like, it's got scarcity. There's only 21 million. So the question is, like, how much silver is there? How much gold is there? If we want to get more gold,
as much as they can dig, right?
Is it free to dig? I mean, you've got to go and find the stuff and then spend a shit ton of money getting it. Then you've got to process it. And if you want to take your silver and send it to New York, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So that's just some of the reasons, and I'm very pro Bitcoin, right? So that's why I'm ramming the positives of it. But everyone should go and do their own research and find the strategy that works for them. There's a long-winded answer to your question, but I think we all need a house to live in. So that's your first real estate purchase. You need continual investment strategies into the things that you like for the long term. You're 20 years old. You've got 40 years of investing in front of you. And if you do it now and you do it smart, by the time you get to 60, you're going to be more than fine. And once you start bringing in money and revenue, you're going to have the other problem, which we all hate, which is fucking tax. So how do you reduce tax? Investment properties. Look at what the wealthy do. Go read a book on any wealthy person. Businesses, investments, and then tax reduction. That's the strategy.
Yeah, no, I love it. Bitcoin's cool. Yeah, no, I love it. And Bitcoin's cool because it's a self-regulated currency, you could call it, right?
Completely decentralized. Yeah.
Decentralized.
I run my
word,
own
right?
bank.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I got on Sky News with this, or I didn't get on. They picked up the story. The banks now, because because they've got control. I tried to move, I think it was $10,000 from my bank account with Commonwealth Bank into into a crypto exchange, and the bank said no. You can't do that. We're not allowing that. I'm like, it's my freaking money. They said no. It's our company policy to protect you from fraud and protection. I'm like, that's bullshit. So I had to kind of find ways around it, which I did, which was not ideal for me, but I opened like 10 bank accounts. I moved things and did things and got around it. But Commonwealth Bank, you cannot do more than $10,000 per month from all of your accounts. HSBC won't allow you to do it at all. Westpac, same rules. ANZ, same rules. Now, this is the fucking matrix, man. Why do you think they're doing that? Because as soon as we take money out of their system and start to manage it ourselves, they can't lend my money out to the next customer and put interest on it, which is the only way that banks make money. So, I mean, I took it up all levels of the banking business, and they just went, no, it's our policy. We can do what I want. It essentially means that as soon as your money is in the bank, it's their money.
Yeah, they hold it.
Well, they just changed the rules. You can only take $1,000 out of an ATM. Credit card fees were 18%. We decided to make it 20%. Touch and go. Everyone's doing touch and go with their cards now, and cash is dying. The banks love that because every time you tap that card, they take a fee. So why do you think they want to kill cash? There's no fees on cash.
Yeah. No, I read something about that saying, they take, a 0.1% of a transaction fee. But if you have a $50 note and you go to the local grocer and you give him $50 for groceries, and then the grocer gets a car wash and gives him $50, and then that guy then, buys a phone case, that $50 remains that $50. But the banks then, after that period of time, and then making an extra $25 off those transaction fees.
I mean, eventually the $50 is gone, right? Because if you tap it 200 times, the $50 has gone to the bank. They win. For every $1,000 you put in the bank,
what a system.
How's this? For every $1,000 you put in the bank, they lend out 900 of it. That's why they don't want me or anybody else taking their money out of the system, because this is happening overseas, and they've been doing bank runs. If every Commonwealth Bank customer went to the bank today and said, I want all my money out the bank, they don't have it. They don't have it. Argentina, South Africa, the people are doing what they call bank runs, and they're running and they're going, give me my money. And they're like, no, or it's gone. And the doors are locked and they've got security guards out the front. So I'm just, in terms of the matrix, I'm protecting myself against that, because I've worked too hard to have that shit taken away from me by a system. And I'm still in the system because I keep getting the tax bills, and I keep paying capital gain tax, and I keep paying income tax, and I keep paying business tax, and then there's a tax for paying too much super. Tax. Like, it's ridiculous. But I don't mind paying tax when they're doing good things with the tax dollar, improving the roads, improving the schools, improving the medical. But if they're just going and doing a bunch of stupid shit with it or paying off the country's debt, then I don't want to pay for your problems.
Completely agree with that. All right, you got me thinking here, Ben.
Mate, geez, if I could go back to 20, just keep it simple. Don't over leverage. Don't do anything stupid. Build the business, invest all the revenue from the business back into growing it, because that's a great asset. The business will generate you enough money to buy your real estate. Then you can, take an income from the business and then start to invest some of that income into the long-term investment plan. To me, it's that simple. I didn't realize that until I was
Yep.
33. So you're going to do just fine.
Appreciate it, mate. And yeah, definitely appreciate that guidance and that advice, because it's hard to get. So
I have to do the disclaimer again. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is just what I do. This is just my opinion. All right, man. Thank you so much for the podcast. Get fired up. You can go make it happen. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it.